What's going on, guys? I'm Jaye the Black. Salute to everybody that's tuning in. Of course, I was going to react and respond to Stephen A. Smith's response because I did a video yesterday and I talked about how he put out this promo video about how he was going to address Kwame Brown. And I was going to do a secondary video because I can't just do that video and not do this, because people have been sending me clips after I posted my video of Stephen A. Smith's response on his ESPN Plus show, because he wanted to promote that show because no one watches it. So he used that to promote the show. Now, Kwame has reacted, but I want to get into my take on what Stephen A. Smith had to say. You know, Stephen A. Smith probably wasn't going to respond if he thought that Kwame would have just said what he said and moved on. But I think because Kwame was going at certain people that he's cool with, because in Stephen A. Smith's response clip, he basically mentioned all the people that Kwame Brown had addressed. And one of them was Charlamagne the God, a guy who actually ended up apologizing for going at Kwame as far as putting out his family's information. But Stephen A. Smith decided to mention Charlamagne the God as if he is somebody who was wronged in this situation, and Charlamagne was not wronged in this situation at all. He just opened his own can of worms, right? And he knew he had to apologize. But I found it interesting that from looking at the video clip, and I'll put it in the description box so y'all can go and check it out, he is not only mentioning all these people that Kwame has addressed, but he puts up this highlight video of all of the lowlights of Kwame Brown's career. I don't know if Stephen A. was trying to take the comedic route in his response to Kwame, because that's what it came off as. Because I thought that Stephen A. Smith would have a sense of a sense of common sense conversation about Kwame Brown. And all he would have to do is explain why over the years he has built his ESPN career off of basically mocking Kwame Brown and a few others here and there, but mostly Kwame Brown, and really have a logical discussion and really speak on why he feels like Kwame shouldn't or should feel a certain type of way, why he used it, you know, what he's done as far as, you know, black men. Because he at the beginning of the video, it was almost like he felt insulted that Kwame Brown would say that he and some others on TV disrespect black men or black athletes. But that's what goes on. That's who you're critical of. And when it comes to non-black athletes, they only get criticized in regards to race. They don't get criticized as harshly as some others. You remember the time, Stephen A., when you had that, you know, response to Kevin Durant and you were talking tough. You remember that, right? It's just the way these guys see, because again, I don't know how closely Kwame Brown has watched you and the things you said on ESPN, but it just seems like you know who to go at and then you know who not to go at. But back to the response. In the response, to me, it just seemed like he wanted to sort of embarrass Kwame Brown and say basically, you're only getting criticized because your play on the court, when clearly Kwame Brown says it's not about just the play on the court, it's about you mocking me outside of the court. When you have None of the Smoke podcast speaking to Jeannie Buss and making it seem like the trade that Kwame Brown was involved in that sent him to the Lakers, instead of it being him and another player, it was just that other player. You know, stuff like that has gone on for years, and that is what Kwame Brown has an issue with. Kwame Brown had a lengthy career, longer than some others. There are a lot of players who didn't play more than the amount of time that Kwame Brown played. He survived. He was able to be in the league for 12 years. No matter how many bloopers you show, he was in the league for over 12 years. There are a lot of players who were drafted high that didn't last that long. They rode the bench most of the time. They weren't able to last that long and be able to even reach the amount of money that Kwame Brown was able to make in the league. What people got to understand is it's not about what he did on the court. It was about the fact that people has mocked this guy for years as a terrible basketball player who just never made it, who was a mistake as a first overall pick, but they don't dive deep into the fact that he was drafted by people that didn't want him. Okay? Just imagine going to a team where the face of the organization, Michael Jordan, wanted to trade you for somebody else. And he thought that that was going to happen when they drafted you, but that did not happen. So you had, basically he was put in the middle of a situation where he didn't have a chance, but he was able to survive the league for 12 seasons, 12 years, whatnot, right? And Kwame Brown has an issue with the mocking of him. And with Stephen A. Smith playing this video of all of his lowlights, of all the mistakes, the bloopers, it's almost as if he wants to make it about Kwame's mad because we view him as a bad player. When is that why you mock? There's a lot of bad players over the years in a lot of different sports. They don't get mocked like that. A lot of people who may be considered failures. You got a lot of guys that will sign a big free agent contract and not last 2 years into that deal, and then you don't hear from them again. Are they getting mocked? Kwame has an issue with being the guy. He's the face of NBA busts. Just imagine being considered the face of NBA busts, being considered, you're the prime example of what a failure is. You're basically, your failures are being used to create the one and done rule. Just imagine every time you look around on TV, you're being viewed as a failure. You're being viewed as a less than player. And the thing is, with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, they weren't great players. There were times where Steven Jackson was a good player. There were times where Matt Barnes was considered an okay player, but come on, man. Matt Barnes was not a scorer. He was considered more of I would say, a defensive guy. Maybe y'all see something different. Steven Jackson was a guy who showed flashes of talent and potential, but once again, were these guys considered great players? They were basically role players, six men. They weren't considered guys who were crucial to the success. Maybe Steven Jackson, maybe early in his career, right? But most of his career, was he considered that? And these are the guys critiquing him. These are the guys critiquing him, basically saying that, he's in a trade, but he's not in a trade. Then you got Stephen A. Smith playing these clips. Like, you're an articulate guy, Stephen A. Smith. You're an articulate guy. You couldn't just sit there and just have a logical discussion on this guy's career and really speak to why you think he thinks the way he thinks and why you feel like you're right or you're wrong in the things that you have said. No, you decided to, because that's why I think that this thing may not have been all the way thought out through. That's why people are clowning it. People are clowning Stephen A. Smith. You got some people that liked what Stephen A. Smith did, but a lot of people are mocking him because this did not come across as something that was well thought out. This was something to promote his ESPN Plus show that no one watches. I wonder how many people actually went over there and subscribe to ESPN Plus to hear this. You didn't really hear anything. You just saw these clips. Listen, there's a lot of your top NBA players who have blooper reels that you could create where they have blunders. And these are some of the best. Even the best players have blunders, probably have a lot of blunders, but they make up with those blunders by their consistent good play. Right? So when I look at this response from Stephen A. Smith, it was very weak. There were a lot of people who considered it to be weak, and that is why he is not getting a lot of support on this. He had an opportunity to speak directly to the people, and he chose to take the goofy route, all because he really didn't have much to say. That's why I don't think this is well thought out. He really thought that, I guess, Kwame would stop talking about him, that Kwame's momentum would slow down, but the numbers speak for itself. The momentum is not slowing down. It's not slowing down because people are tired of this lamestream, woke sports media that's afraid to be honest, that's afraid to be real. They walk on eggshells. They're constantly apologizing. They're playing identity politics. People are sick and tired of that. That's why these networks' ratings are down the drain. This is why Kwame Brown's probably doing better with his views than they are on some of these shows on ESPN. Why I think ESPN has to let go of people left and right because they're not getting the same viewership. They can't pay those salaries. They can't pay those salaries. And Stephen A is doing okay. But to me, I think he's become an employee because he was sort of semi-independent. But when he signed that new deal, he basically signed over his right to do his own thing, to be his own boss. Charlemagne, in a sense, has done the same thing. That's why these guys are so corporate. A lot of these guys are corporate. None of these people want to be on their own. Stephen A. Smith had the potential to build his own platform, but he chose to be an employee. He does. And that is why he has to go and put out this promo video and acting as if he's going to go in when really he had nothing to say because he knows Kwame Brown is right. He knows Kwame Brown is right. But I don't know if he's going to say anything after this because he didn't say anything the first time. He just put out this highlight video. And honestly, a lot of people were disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed because they thought that with a guy who has intellect like Stephen A. Smith, he will be able to come up with a better argument than this, but he did not because he had nothing to say.